aloe vera for skin, tamarind for metabolism, baobab for immune support. Lifeway Shot. Embrace wellness naturally.
The Business Snapshot on 88.5 Sun FM.
We start off with our business snapshot by taking a look on what is happening in the world of, our exchange rates. The United States dollar is buying at 23 kwacha, 10 ngwe, and selling at 23 kwacha, 48 ngwe. The Great British Pound is buying at 30 kwacha, 53 ngwe, and selling at 30 kwacha, 60 ngwe. The euro is buying at 26 kwacha, 52 ngwe, and selling at 26 kwacha, 58 ngwe. The South African rand is buying at 1 kwacha, 27 ngwe, and selling at 1 kwacha, 28 ngwe. We take a look at some stories that are making headlines in the world of business as we started off on the local side. Now, government's debt restructuring efforts are beginning to bear fruits as Finance and National Planning Minister Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane says the projected decline in the public debt to GDP ratio is an indication to government's prudent economic management and debt restructuring efforts bearing fruits. Now, according to the latest IMF country report number 25 of 225 released on August 5th, 2025, Zambia's public debt to GDP ratio was projected to decline to approximately 91.1% by December 2025, marking the first time in over 7 years that the ratio falls below the 100% threshold. The report further projects that the continued downward trajectory, with the debt ratio expected to reach 69.4% by 2027. This was issued in the office of the Secretary to the Treasury on Wednesday, as we're seeing that the decline in the public debt to GDP ratio. In more stories we have for today, as Zambia's debt outlook is actually improving. Now, with this debt to GDP ratio projected to decline, according to the latest International Monetary Fund IMF country report on Zambia, the improved outlook is driven by effective fiscal consolidation, successful external debt restructuring, and a strengthened macroeconomic framework under the Extended Credit Facility ECF program. The IMF says these efforts are restoring debt sustainability and laying the groundwork for good term and economic stability. Now, in more stories, we see how the economist Ihu is urging government to enforce Loan Act to protect the country from excessive borrowing. Now, economist Trevor Hambai is urging government to strengthen the efforts and enforce the loans and guarantees to act protect the country from excessive borrowing. The Amendment 2025 borrowing plan approved by the National Assembly raised the net domestic financing ceiling from 15.4 billion kwacha to 30.2 billion kwacha and is now expected to rise from 1.9% to gross domestic product GDP, an approximate of 3.7%, nearly double its initial target. Now, in an interview, Mr. Hambai is saying that is concerned to excessive commercial borrowing that might result from increasing the net domestic financing ceiling might lead to another debt default. He explains that the ceiling is set in based on what the country is able to achieve, and the increasing therefore breaches the GDP to debt ratio. Mr. Hambai, however, highlights the need for government to carefully analyze what the country's debt position is and consider what the sustainable way is before increasing the net domestic financing and its ceiling. We look at some international stories that are making headlines today, and it looks like Donald Trump is still in the news with his tariffs, as we are seeing that it is sweeping the new tariffs take off against dozens of countries. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump is sweeping new tariffs to more than 90 countries around the world, having to come into effect. Just before the deadline of deals to be agreed to cut or avoid any of the import taxes, Trump posted on his Truth Social platform that billions of dollars were now flowing into the U.S. due to these tariffs. Now, earlier, the president hit India with a 50% tariff, which will take an effect on 27th August unless it stops buying Russian oil. Trump also threatened and seeing a 10% or 200% tariffs on foreign-made computer chips as he pushes tech firms to invest in the U.S. It comes as Apple announced a new $100 billion U.S. investment after coming under pressure from the White House to move more products to America. Last week, the Trump administration advised a revised list on import taxes on dozens of trading partners and extended a decline in the countries to reach agreements with up to US and 7th of August. Countries have been racing to strike deals with Washington to lower or to scrape what Trump calls reciprocal tariffs. Now, in his trade policies, which are aimed at reshaping the global trading system, which he sees as threatening the US unfairly. Export-demanded and independent economies in Southeast Asia were among the hardest hit by the new tariffs. Well, it looks like he's not giving up on his ideas on increasing these tariffs unless they strike an agreement again to the US. These are some of the stories that we had on the Business Snapshot. More is yet to come. Good afternoon.
The Business Snapshot on 88.5 Sun FM.